Welcome back. You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Tonight, we're joined by the Telegraph's Associate Political Editor, Tony Diver, and the Editor-in-Chief of nationalworld.com, Nancy Fielder. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. Well, the Liverpool Echo pays tribute to footballer Diogo Jota, who's died in a car crash at the age of 28. The paper calls him forever our number 20, in reference to his shirt. The Metro describes the striker's death as a devastating tragedy, happening just days after his wedding. Football has lost a champion. That's the headline in The Sun, with a picture of Jota's 3 children. Fans across the world, from Merseyside to Porto, were shocked over the loss of the Portuguese striker. That's on the front of the Daily Express. Jurgen Klopp, the manager who brought Diogo Jota to Liverpool, pays tribute to him in the Daily Star. In other news, the Times reports on Labour's new 10-year plan for the NHS, which will include improvements to the app using AI to give personalised medical advice. The Daily Mail has the same story. The Eye reports that pensioners face a tax hike after the government's U-turn on welfare reforms. The Financial Times reports that leading asset management firms scrambled to buy UK government bonds during the Chancellor's emotional display in the Commons yesterday over fears it would cause them to lose value. The Telegraph focuses on another challenge for the Prime Minister as a former Labour MP teams up with Jeremy Corbyn to create a new party. And The Guardian focuses on the ongoing war in Gaza, saying Israel has increased airstrikes despite hopes of a ceasefire. We're joined tonight by Tony Diver and Nancy Fielder to take us through the papers. Welcome to both of you. A really very, very sad spread of front pages for tomorrow's newspapers, nearly all featuring the footballer Diogo Jota, who lost his life in that car accident in Spain. Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, the front of the Liverpool Echo, rightly, is all in black. It's a city in mourning. The world's entire football community is in mourning, but far more importantly, he's just got married to his childhood sweetheart. He has 3 beautiful, very young children. His brother has also died alongside him. And the devastating personal impact on that family and on everybody who knew him. This isn't your sort of typical footballer who is always in the headlines, who you see sort of stumbling out of nightclubs, all the rumours about. This is somebody who everybody who's ever met him says he took time for the fans, he sort of gave back to the communities. He was just a really, really lovely bloke. And I think this morning when the news came through, it came through just as we were having our news conference, and everyone was like, what? Are you sure? Because it was only sort of reports at first, and it quickly obviously became true. And I think when it's somebody so famous and so well loved and so skilled at what he does, you feel a little bit like you know them. So Liverpool, absolutely right to go black on the front page, because the city will be completely mourning, as is the whole of Portugal and many, many more people.
And so true what you say, Nancy, that people in Liverpool in particular took him as one of their own. You know, we were running clips from fans today, and a woman was saying, you know, I know he wasn't family, but he absolutely felt like family.
Yeah, and I think if you look at a lot of these front pages, you can see pictures of those distraught fans. And just on my way here, I was looking at some of the scarves and shirts that have been laid out, not from Liverpool fans, from fans of other teams, but who've come to pay their respects. And you can see a lot of the front pages, as you say, have got pictures of their wedding, which was just 2 weeks ago, and the tragic detail that he was intending to fly from where he was in Spain back to the UK, but had ended up driving in order to take a ferry because he had an operation, which meant he couldn't fly, which ordinarily he wouldn't have been taking that journey, but he was, and obviously there was a tragic accident.
And we look at the Star next. Fantastic player, great friend and loving husband and father. And it's the, aside from the football, it's the personal story, isn't it? It's the loss for that family. As you say, 11 days after his wedding and 3 very young children.
And not very long since they became champions and the whole family came on. And that's always really heartwarming, I find, when the footballers sort of bring the family on and it looks like everybody's truly united. And who could ever imagine that these pictures would then be used in this context so long after? This was man, and he said it in interviews really recently, how happy he was living his dream life. Family was perfect, the wedding was perfect. He's really, really at the peak of his career, and in one flash it's all gone. Absolutely devastating.
And that is the cruelty in all of this, isn't it, Tony, that he was at the height of his career, the height of his personal happiness as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, and the papers tomorrow are full of the story of how he was building a family together. He had 3 children with his wife, but he'd only just married her, and the 2 of them were building a life together. I mean, we can only imagine what career he would have gone on to had he survived.
Yeah, truly shocking story, and he will be mourned for many, many months to come. The people of Liverpool, we saw pictures of them laying flowers, the tributes coming in, you know, fast and furious, and just the number of flowers that have been laid this evening already.
And I think it's interesting, this sort of forever our number 1, the Liverpool Echo says, and I think the club will have a little choice but to retire the number 20, because it will always be so associated with him, and he hadn't left the club. Do you know, you kind of get big players, but he was right there, right at the middle of everything they did, and turning around the success. So I think there's a while until the season starts again. But I think the tributes and the sort of memorials and everything, it's going to be absolutely massive, and the mourning is going to go on for a very long time.
Yeah, no, it will indeed. Yeah, just a quick shot from Anfield. Those are the tributes that have been laid out so far. Previously, we were there with our correspondent there speaking to the various people. Tom Parmenter was in those crowds gathering, and a steady stream of people coming throughout.
And so many young children.
Yes. Some in their school uniform, he said, come straight from school.
And he sort of played. He was such a big part of the squad. They were quite annoyed when he didn't start matches. You know, it really. I mean, Liverpool loves its football, and I think it's going to take a long, long time to recover. It
will indeed, never to be forgotten, they say. Well, let's move to some politics now. And Jeremy Corbyn's name is back in the newspapers because apparently he's starting a new party. Front page of the Daily Telegraph. Tony, take us into this one.
Well, there's a bit of a surprise announcement, this. We've known for some time that Jeremy Corbyn had been thinking about setting something up. At the moment, he sits on the Labour benches as an independent. And Zara Sultana, who is another one of these left-wing Labour MPs, much younger than him, one of the youngest MPs, has suddenly come out and announced that she's starting a party with him. And in terms of the sort of parliamentary arithmetic and Keir Starmer, it perhaps doesn't make that much difference in the short term, because these are MPs that often vote against the government anyway, because they're very left-wing. But what it does do is set up a kind of power base for the left, and creates another party that perhaps some of the rebels that we saw earlier this week voting against the government's welfare reforms might think about joining. And we've already seen that kind of opposition in the Commons is becoming a really serious problem for the Prime Minister.
And with the quote here from Ms Sultana saying that the next election will be a choice of socialism or barbarism.
Interesting, hey? I mean, I love this story because I can't tell you, and it'll be the same for you, how many times people say, well, I didn't bother to vote because there's nobody I believe in. Look at what Nigel Farage has managed to do on a kind of a wing and a prayer, and not actually that many policies, just spreading an awful lot of rumours and hate around. So actually, I think the more different type of politics we have, and the more different politicians who sort of stand up and want to have their say. I'm not particularly a great Corbyn supporter or a great Farage supporter, but I think actually we need some choice, and people are sick and tired of both the Labour Party and the Tories, so bring it on, I say. Whether it can cause any damage, we'll see.
We haven't heard from Jeremy Corbyn on this, have we?
We haven't yet, and there have already been reports that Jeremy Corbyn didn't know that this was being launched tonight, and that he's furious that the lid has been blown on the whole thing. I haven't seen any comments from him or whether that's been confirmed, but already it seems that there might be some infighting going on, which is something that we remember so well from
So not
Corbyn
that he didn't
years.
know about it completely, but he didn't know that it would be launched tonight.
That's the claim at the moment, yeah.
Is there also only two members, and they've already...
Yeah, we're so far it's the 2 of them.
We shall see how long that lasts and wait for the formal launch of the party. We haven't got a name, have we? No, we haven't got that far.
We could run a competition and come up with one, but perhaps we better not.
Might be a bit previous to do that. Let's have a look at the FT, and this is sort of the fallout from Rachel Reeves. It wasn't a breakdown, but her crying, or there being some tears in the House of Commons yesterday, and how that affect asset management. Tony?
Yeah, well, I think what we're seeing here is the market's reacting to that moment of turmoil, and of course people in the Labour government say that the fact that the market's reacted so strongly to the idea that Rachel Reeves will be leaving office shows that she is a trusted chancellor that that the markets believe in. But here we see some of the world's biggest asset managers, and you can see why the FT's gone so big on this. Really actually believing that something very serious was going on in the Commons yesterday. And I think this story just demonstrates that the tiniest bit of instability or that picture that we saw of the Chancellor crying behind Keir really moved the markets. It made a big difference.
Nancy, do you think it's spin by the Labour Party that actually it's a positive because the markets have stabled and regained ground on the news that she isn't going anywhere?
I think they've tried to handle it well today. I mean, she didn't need... She's in all the pictures, there they are, hand on knee, looking like best friends. There's what looks a little bit to me like an awkward hug from Keir Starmer that should have been there yesterday but wasn't, but was there today. It's been
Well,
very...
he said he didn't realise.
He did say he didn't realise. If it was personal problems that she was suffering that was so intense, I feel like a good boss perhaps should have known that. But hey-ho, we don't actually know the circumstances, do we? But I think it's very well managed today. It's not stopped people talking about the relationship between the most senior people in the party, the people leading our government. And I'm not sure, the markets might be happy that she's staying in the job, whether sort of the tension and the politics behind the scenes has gone away, I doubt. But no wonder she's smiling today, because actually it's far more important for the markets to have backed her, because it backs Keir into a corner. He's going to struggle to get rid of her now, even if that was the original plan.
OK. Nancy and Tony, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to take a break. Coming up, will a revamped NHS app even, really make a positive difference? We'll be discussing that next. Do stay with us.
Over there, to your left. There have been airstrikes every day. Hezbollah are very sensitive about us showing any pictures, and we're being hurried away right now. It felt akin to riding into some sort of Armageddon. Many other areas have been hit badly. There are shells coming in every few minutes. Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city, where there's a column of Russian armoury. I'm Alex Crawford, and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul. It's trying to hit us. That's it. It got us then. There's a lot of action going on. A lot of hits going in still. We were the first journalists and the only outsiders to reach the site of the attack several weeks after it happened.
We found from the missile.
It's very difficult to see what around here could be conceived of as a legitimate military target. Only about half a mile from the Turkish coast, a boat seriously overcrowded. This is one of the most severe viruses in the world. Clearly not had very much to eat at all, a lot of them extremely thin and very frail. Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides, and it's moving this way.
The world's largest falls now down to a trickle in places.
I can't imagine how much plastic is lying at the bottom of this huge lake. Oh! Getting up close and personal with a rhino.
This is what makes the job so fantastic.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
Turkey is burying its dead. Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin. This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone could say, I'll do that, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
Sky News, get the full story first.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin. The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks. If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview, still with me, Tony Diver and Nancy Fielder, taking us through the newspapers. I'm going to have a look at the Daily Mail, first of all, in this section. The headline there, "The doctor in your pocket will see you now." This is the revamped app that Wes Streeting has been discussing to make the NHS more productive and also to personalise it, actually, for patients. Nancy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant idea. If you've got a really solid app that works really well and it takes away all that phoning quickly at 8 o'clock and you're still number 25 in the queue, it's brilliant.
We've got an app now, though, haven't we?
Not one that does anything particularly useful. Yes, we do have. But whether they can do what's described as all singing, all dancing app by 2028, I doubt. I mean, I would love to see it, but it's not long since we're having conversations about hospitals have some records and GPs have other. It seems like it's in a complete mess. So whether that can all be pulled together, it will take some serious investment, but I think it would be great. But I also think we need to always remember that a huge section of people who rely on the NHS don't use apps, and they're elderly, and they're actually worried about going online to book appointments. So it can't all be about AI. And no matter how many apps you've got, we are short of doctors, we're short of nurses, we're short of the human beings that actually really do the job, and he's got to solve that. And I don't see anything that he's suggesting so far that's really going to ease that.
He started off by saying it's a good idea.
It is a good idea, but it's not the answer, is it?
The Telegraph saying that same-day GP appointments will be de rigueur by 2028, Tony.
Yeah, it's all part of this same plan that to integrate everything, make everything digital, to allow people to wear wearable technology so that they can track their own fitness and that data can be reported back. I mean, the government set itself a pretty ambitious target by 2028, but I think if there's anything that we've learned over the last 20 years, there's two things that governments tend to be very bad at, and they are building digital platforms and doing long-term health policy. So if the government can pull this off and produce all of these wonderful benefits they're talking about, then it will make a really serious difference. But Wes Streeting's basically saying that he can solve everything all in one go.
In your opinion, is that fanciful?
Well, I'm not a health policy expert, and the government says that it's got the know-how to do this. I mean, they're talking about bringing the private sector and using a lot of AI, which is a tool that governments previously have not had open to them. And I think what we are seeing from Labour is a bit of ambition and a willingness to think a bit differently about this stuff, rather than only focusing on waiting times and traditional GP surgeries, is what previous governments have done.
Are you optimistic, Nancy, from what we've read?
I think it will make a difference. I don't think it will make a difference of the scale that we need. So I am optimistic about it, but I just think there's so many sort of fundamental things that this won't address. So it's a great step forward, but it's only really the first step.
OK. Let's take a look at our final story. This is in the Metro concerning Sir Keir Starmer's habits first thing in the morning. He starts with a workout in the gym in the Downing Street flat before a day that's fuelled by black coffee and biscuits. Not very healthy, Tony, is it?
No, it's not very healthy. Although,
apart from the gym,
as the Metro point out, it's a lot more healthy than Winston Churchill's routine, who would, according to them, get up in the morning and have a whiskey while he was having his breakfast, and then move on to the bubbly at lunchtime. But I mean, there's some quite interesting stuff in here. I like the fact that he's installed a ramp for his cats to reach the first floor window of Downing Street, because they can't get through the cat flap, supposedly, because there's a bomb-proof door. So it's quite a nice innovation for the Prime Minister to look after Larry.
Oh, these are other cats aside from Larry?
Oh, he's talking about his own cats.
Right. Right, OK. So Larry doesn't have any problems getting in and out, does he?
No, well, Larry, of course, has the police officer on the front door. Yes. Sits and waits, and then the policeman lets him in.
Nancy, some interesting detail, though, in this piece.
Yes, I mean, I think the comparison is interesting. So he's obviously got a 17-year-old son, and he says it's difficult to get out to go to the gym if you're Prime Minister or indeed if you're the Prime Minister's son. So they've brought the gym to the house, which I think is great. A lot of people want to do that. But I mean, what's really interesting is the little piece next to it about what Winston used to do in his morning whiskies. Before he even got out of bed, he'd had really strong alcohol. He'd have whiskey and soda, then he'd have champagne. He'd have a glass of cognac, more champagne, smoked 8 to 10 cigars a day. I mean, imagine what we'd have if we had somebody trying to transform the NHS and particularly that was known to be your sort of diet and living habits. Black coffee and biscuits aren't great for you, but it's got to be better than cognac.
I think I would agree. And also he goes to the gym in the morning. So we'll give him a big tick for that. Tony and Nancy, thank you very much for taking us through the papers. We'll see you in the 11 o'clock hour. Stay with us, much more to come.